Archery Insider, and I'm your insider, Dalton Greer. Let's get into it. Now I'm going to go over the arrow. The arrow is extremely important, the different pieces on there, so I'm just going to explain that a little bit. So you have your first part, which is going to be your nock. That's this piece right here. This is going to be what clips onto the string, and when I was talking about the string, I said there's the nocking point. Well, that is where the nock goes. The nock is going to clip on just underneath the nocking point on there, and it's just this back piece, little plastic piece. It actually clips onto the arrow and holds the arrow in place. Next is going to be your fletching. In this case, and that's the fletching or your correction piece on there. So they're like your little wings that go on the back of your arrow. Those are considered fletchings. In this case, I have actual feathers on here. So they are actual natural feathers. And these are going to be what correct the arrow through the air. And then the big thing with this is that you have an index feather or fletching, all right? That's the one that's a different color. This is super important when you're clipping your arrow on to make sure it's facing the right direction, all right? If you just clip on your arrow willy-nilly, you're going to have your arrow contacting the bow incorrectly and it's going to fly all funky. So cock feather is another term for it. I like to call it an index vane or index fletching, index feather, all the same thing, this guy here. All right, next is going to be your arrow shaft, all right? That is the center part of the arrow. The arrow shaft is really important to be tuned properly, and it has what's called a spine. Arrows are actually very, very, very bendy, and this spine is referring to the actual stiffness of the arrow, all right? So the arrow shaft is here. How stiff the arrow shaft is, how bendy it is the spine of the arrow. And if your spine of the arrow isn't tuned properly, then that could be a huge issue. And you can just look up a spine chart online. Actually, I have it linked in the description down below, a really good spine chart that you can check out, and that's gonna make sure that you're shooting an arrow that's safe for your bow, all right? So we have the spine of the arrow, which is flexing. We have the nock, we have the fletchings, and then we have the index vane, which is the odd color fletching. Lastly, we have our tip, which is up here, and one more thing, you do have something called the crest, and that's going to be that middle part there, and that is the branding of the actual arrow is going to be listed on there. Then also the spine, so that stiffness number, is going to be listed on your crest as well. So that's important. All right, you now know the parts of the arrow. So you have some terminology now, so when I'm talking, it's not just going to be gibberish. And if you didn't retain everything I said, that's fine. It's going to take time to learn all these words. There's a lot of unique archery words that you're going to have to learn. All right, guys, that's it for today's video. Let's keep on shooting and keep it in the bullseye. We'll see you next week. Oh, hey there. My name is Dalton Greer, and I think you should subscribe to this YouTube channel.